Hey there, it's Kamisha Brewer Dickerson with the CEO Clinician podcast, where we teach new and emerging leaders how to be mentally healthy as you're doing business. During this show, you will hear stories about leadership and running a business effectively. I'll show you how I was able to transition from being an underpaid, overworked clinician to becoming the CEO clinician with a thriving private practice, a speaking and coaching business with multiple streams of income while working through grief and anxiety. You'll also hear from our incredible guests on how they were able to successfully build their businesses while facing mental health challenges of their own. Their stories are unbelievable. If you want to learn how to be mentally healthy as you're doing business, listen to this podcast and then head over to cbrewerconsulting.com to grab a copy of my book and learn how to work with us. Ready to hear the episode? Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the CEO Clinician podcast. Today, we are talking about what it takes to run a private practice. I'm going to be able to take you a little deeper this week to really pulling your heartstrings a little bit because I know that creating a private practice is a dream for many new therapists, especially those of you who are brand new to the field and brand new to the industry, and you've always been thinking about how cool it would be to have a private practice. And I want you to stay there. Like, I want you to really think about how cool it would be. However, I also want to be realistic and tell you what it takes to make the cool thing that you see in your mind, how to make that thing show up in real life. And that's kind of the direction for this week's episode. So first thing I want to tell you about is, in order to run a private practice, you need to have a vision for your practice. And by vision, I mean when you're daydreaming and you're checking out, hopefully not while driving or being present with your children or your partner or whatever, but in the moments where you have downtime and you're just thinking about your life and you're thinking about the future, you need to have a vision for what you want this private practice thing to look like, because based on how you see it, that is going to determine how you work to create it and how you communicate what it is that you're building to the other people in your world, right? So some of the initial barriers that a lot of people experience when they're trying to build this idea of private practice, and also what takes them a long time to get it off the ground, is sometimes the dream. I don't think any dream is too big, but the way they describe it, it sounds like unicorn and cotton candy all the time. But when they're trying to communicate it to their spouse or their partner or clinical supervisor, or some of y'all don't, but even their boss, if you have a good relationship or a mentor, the way you describe it, it just seems like it's not going to happen, right? You're like, I want to have this practice with 30 different therapists working under me, and we're going to offer groups and individual. We're going to offer intensives. I'm going to get trained in everything. I want all the certifications. I want to be able to do substance abuse. I want to do community mental health. I don't want to take insurance. I don't want to take insurance. I don't want to take insurance. I want to do self-pay only, and I want to partner with all these other organizations, all these huge companies and foundations that do mental health work and that are pioneers in the field. I want to do all the things, and I'm going to have that done by next week. And people look at you like, oh, okay, wonderful. And they're questioning whether or not you're in the middle of your own manic episode sometimes, just because everything is just like so big and so grandiose whenever you explain it to them. So the vision has to be realistic. I'm not saying don't dream big, because I'm a big vision kind of person, but I also know that in order to go big, you have to go small, which means starting out by mapping out a phase of what phase one of that big thing needs to look like. Like, in the next 30 days, what do you want to be doing? And why? So if your heart really is in community mental health, helping people who are living in poverty, helping people who are homeless, low income families, first time moms, people who are struggling with drugs and alcohol, chemical dependency folks, like, absolutely do that. You can build a private practice around that. Now, your fee structure and the business part around that may look different than someone else's practice, but it doesn't matter. But when you're thinking about your vision for your practice, it has to be heartfelt. It has to be what you want to do, and it has to be big enough where on the days where it's hard, you'll keep going because you remember your why. There are some days right now, even in private practice, I'll start teaching on this more as we approach the summer months. But some days it is flat out stressful. And when you're not sure what you are doing and why you're still putting yourself through this, if your vision isn't big enough and your why isn't strong enough, you will absolutely quit and you'll stay at your agency, you'll stay at your group practice, and you will completely give up on that big dream that you had, which is fine. But my recommendation for you is to really assess and be realistic with yourself about what it is you're building and why. Like, why does it matter to you? If you were that kid of a young single mom who was struggling with drugs and alcohol, who was in unhealthy relationships, domestic violence relationships, and now you know you want to build a practice to serve those kids or build a practice to serve that mom who is struggling with self-worth, self-confidence, the resilience and the strength that it takes to get out of those type of situations, especially if it's generational and that's all they've ever seen. If you want to build a practice to serve those people because of your story, do it. But you're going to have to get realistic and do the business side of the backside of the heart place, because our visions for private practice, they're so strong, they're so powerful. Our intentions are so good, but without the business operations and the strategy, it's not going to happen. And we're not going to be able to be as effective as we could just because we don't have things in place to effectively serve and minimize risk. So number one, vision. You got to have that because that's what it takes to run a private practice. The next thing that it takes to run a private practice is that you have to be organized. And I know for many of you, the big old word is like a taboo curse word that I just said, but it's the truth. You have to be organized. And I know many of you struggle with this, but you're going to have to get good at it. Okay. So when I say be organized, I mean you're going to have to create some type of structure. And the structure has to be something that you can do, something that is sustainable, something that is conducive to your lifestyle. So the way I teach structure in my signature course and 8-week coaching program, Private Practice Ready, I teach structure from a perspective of structuring your practice around your life and not the other way around. So if you know you have obligations to go to work, take care of your children, you and your partner are working together to make the household work, but you guys have elderly parents and elderly grandparents, or you have chronic illness, and sometimes you may have a flare up and your body may not be cooperating with you. We have to build a private practice in a way that allows you to show up well with an understanding that your body may not be consistent and your body may not be on schedule with the goals for that week, right? And so that's the type of structure I'm talking about creating. And what helps with that is having the right tools, having the right software. And I know some of you are like, oh my goodness, Cameisha, you're talking about getting organized. I hate technology. I don't like tech. I'm not good with tech. Well, I'm telling you right now, it is 2023 and tech is a monster. And now we've got advanced tech with artificial intelligence and things like AI and Chat GPT. You better get good with tech because the tech bots are coming. They are taking over, and it is going to be amazing for the people who really embrace it and implement it into their practices to automate some things and make things easier. But if you are completely resistant and you refuse to get on board with tech, your practice is going to get away from you. The needs of your people, your capacity, and your ability to serve and to reach out and to communicate and to have these different touch points that make the practice run. If you don't get on board with that, you are going to struggle in your private practice because it's going to feel unorganized and you're going to feel like you are chasing your practice, and you're the CEO, which means you're the boss, you're at the top. You can't be chasing your practice. You have to have things under control, things have to be flowing. And this is where hiring a team helps, but also just creating daily step-by-step processes of, okay, this is how I run my practice. Step one, this is what we do. Step two, this is what we do. Every 14 days, this is what we do. Every 30 days, this is what happens in my practice. I know what I'm doing. I know when to do it. I know whose job it is, like whose assignment it is, especially I teach delegation too as a part of leadership as you're running your practice. But you need to have all those things mapped out in a practice organization chart so you know who's doing what in the practice and what things fall under the role of you as a CEO and what things fall under you, the version of you that's still practicing in the business. But sometimes you have to get out of the business and work on the business. And sometimes that's the leadership and the marketing and the sales and pricing, partnerships, collaboration, that sort of thing. But you have to have your step-by-step processes in place. And let me tell you guys this too. Whenever it comes to creating standard operating procedures, sometimes on podcasts you hear people talking about, oh, you need SOPs for your practice. An SOP is a one, two, three, this is what we're doing. Like that's it. It doesn't have to be this fancy human resource version of 817 page packet that nobody has read before. I'm not talking about those kind of SOPs. I mean, it can be a Google Doc. This is how we operate the business so that, heaven forbid, but if you get sick or if something happens to you and someone has to step into your practice temporarily due to illness or whatever, and take over. They know what to do. They know your operating procedures. They know where everything is. They know your logins. They know your password. I'll probably put that in a separate episode. But you need processes in place right now. Even those of you that are like, Kamisha, I just started my practice. I've got 2 clients. They come every 2 weeks. I'm not making that much money. I don't need processes. Yes, you do. Everyone needs processes because it just helps you feel organized and it helps you to know what to do and when. And you're going to get better at it. Okay. And I need y'all to know that. But this is what it takes. It takes you seeing the big picture. It takes you getting down to, I'm down south, you're about to hear my southern accent, but you got to get down to the nitty gritty of what it takes and do the little things. The little things are what makes the big things happen. And so if you are in a situation where you're like, you know what, I just want to make money. Okay, that sounds good, but how are you making the money? Who's bringing in the money? Who are the clients? Who are the customers? How are they paying you? What process do they go to put their credit card information in so you get paid? Like those are the little things that have to be in place in order for you to get to the big goal of, I just want to make money. Okay, everybody wants to make money. It sounds wonderful, but you have to get the little details done and get off the marketing magic. Oh my goodness, everybody is so obsessed with marketing. I love marketing, but I'm telling you right now, marketing is a small piece of what it takes to run a private practice. So let me recap. You need vision and you need to be organized. You got to get your systems in place, your processes, your operating procedures. Last thing you need for this week, it's a whole lot more. I'll go deeper later, but the last thing you need is you need disciplined consistency, not just regular consistency, but the type of consistency that requires you to be disciplined to the point where you will deny yourself something that you could be focusing on because you know you need to be more focused on something else. So discipline is more about denial than just intentional focus. Okay. It's the things you're choosing not to focus on because something else is more pressing and it needs your attention. And that needs to be the priority for the week that you're on, or maybe for the next 30 days, that needs to be the priority. So anytime I'm coaching clients and, therapists are like, Kamisha, I've got all these things and I feel overwhelmed. I don't know what to do first. I don't know what to do next. Okay. So the intervention, okay, therapist is, I won't give you all of it, but it's to get organized so you can figure out what needs to be done and when so that you're not overwhelmed. But you got to be disciplined enough to commit to organization, commit to the vision, commit to the structure that you've put in place. And one way you can do this is through creating time blocks. Everybody doesn't work well under 2-hour time blocks. I'm one of those people. One of my sisters and I, we struggled our entire lives. We are brilliant, like straight A kind of students, multiple master's degrees kind of folks, leadership, the whole thing. But we have very short attention spans. So if we're going to do something, what has to happen is we've got about a 15, 20-minute window where we go all in really hard and then we get up and we're probably going to do a load of laundry, start dinner, start disinfecting something, like we're clean freaks. Like we're probably going to do that and then we'll come back and we'll go for another 15 to 20 minutes. So it does not matter if 2 hours is not your thing, don't do 2 hours, but in the 15 to 20 minutes, you need to be working really hard on your business, which creates a new problem. Like, okay, Kamisha, I got 15 to 20 minutes. I can do that. But what exactly am I doing in the 15 to 20 minutes? Well, that's going to depend on what the goal is, where you are in your timeline, and what needs to be done next. We understand everything needs to be done, but everything can't be done now. So we have to decide what I need to do next, what I need to do now. And is there another option that really needs my attention? Because sometimes the next best thing for the practice and what it takes is you being disciplined enough to say, okay, I'm done working on the practice. I'm about to go in here and love on my kids. I'm about to go in here and take the dog for a walk because I need sunshine. I need fresh air. I need to get out. Like that also means you're building the practice, like you're working on your practice. Sometimes practice building means you're getting rest. Twice a year, I take very long breaks. I'm about to take one in a couple of weeks and I'm excited about my mental health break. But during that time, I have no intentions of having my computer. I have no intentions of responding to emails and working on all these other things because I have a team and my team knows how to respond. My team knows what to say. And if there's something that absolutely needs my attention, like it's urgent, they will let me know. But those are some of the things I put in place. So being disciplined enough to know what you need personally as you're building the practice, your entire life, your entire well-being, your existence cannot just be about your practice and your clients. You will lose your identity trying to serve clients and trying to build a practice. You are a human in the middle of that and you have a name. And you absolutely need to make sure you commit to that and that you're showing up and that you're consistent. So I know being consistent on social media is one of the biggest things new therapists struggle with. But the thing about consistency is that you just make it work. So if your consistency is one day a week, then you show up one day a week. If your consistency is trying to figure out, like, okay, what do I post? What do I post? Well, figure out what you want to post and just post that thing every Monday or every Tuesday. But develop some type of routine, some type of consistency. And don't feel like people are going to get tired of seeing your stuff. You're not famous enough that we're going to get tired of seeing your stuff, right? And even if we do get tired of it, it doesn't matter because somebody else needs your services. Think about how many times we see a McDonald's commercial and they are the best of the best, right? They've been around forever. They have all the campaigns, all these different products, all these different services, new burgers, new sandwiches. We always see a McDonald's commercial. McDonald's, State Farm, Progressive, Gatorade, especially during the NBA playoffs and the Olympics. Like there's always commercials. Nobody's like, "Oh my God, I wish McDonald's would stop." And even if they did feel like that, McDonald's, they don't care. They're on a mission, right? Visibility. New people, right? They've added a lot of different types of people on their commercials, people with different looks, different ages, different seasons of life. It's consistency because they're building a brand and they want to make sure that they remain visible. And we can learn so much from that. Okay. So if you're posting about your practice and sharing the links to your website or your Psychology Today directory, you post that one time and then you wait 3 weeks and don't post it again and you're trying to figure out why you don't have clients, you're not posting enough and you're not networking and people don't know what you do. That's the reason you don't have clients. You haven't been disciplined. You have not been consistent. You have not been showing up for yourself and you have to be responsible for that because that's what it takes to build a practice. It takes you doing things when you're tired. It takes you going to coffee dates when you don't feel like talking. It takes you taking breaks and getting away from the business of private practice when you can no longer feel yourself being creative. It takes you getting off social media, staring at everybody else's practice, being self-critical, beating yourself up about what you don't have. They got a cute website. They sure do. And they paid 10 grand for it and they have zero clients. Who cares? Right? You have to stay in your lane and just love what you do. And that's what it takes to build the practice. It's just you being you showing up every day, you knowing that there are people in the world who need you. There are people in your city, in your state who need you. There are people that only you will be able to reach. One of the reasons I coach the way that I do, and I end up coaching therapists from like all over the country. It's so cool. A lot of them are from New Jersey and Pennsylvania, New York, DC. I'm down south in Arkansas, so I see a lot of therapists from Alabama and Georgia, Colorado, California, all across the Midwest. Like, I love it, but I know that I'm making an impact through helping you guys, and I may not ever set foot in your state, right? I don't see myself going to Wisconsin ever, but I have coached therapists there and I love it. But I know that that's my way of giving back to the world is by equipping therapists to go out and find their clients. But I have to be disciplined in that. I have to be consistent in that, which is why I keep doing podcast episodes. I keep doing live videos. We keep sending email newsletters. We keep offering the Facebook community, the Thought Life. I'm sorry, not the Thought Life. That's the name of my book, Thought Life Confessions. But we keep adding services and resources in the CEO clinician community because we know y'all need that. And that's the way I provide value to the world. And it's the way I make sure that I'm doing what it takes to run my practice. Yes, I have a therapy practice, but I also have a coaching practice. I am the service provider for those different arms of my business. And I have to make sure that I show up well and I have to make sure that I serve well. The little blip I had just a few minutes ago about mentioning my book. I'm not cutting that out. I'm leaving it in the podcast. And shout out to my podcast editor, my husband, Damon. We're not cutting that out because I need y'all to hear that sometimes everything's not going to come out perfect. And you just have to commit and do what it takes to run the practice. And sometimes that's just allowing yourself to be human and allowing people to see you not perfect. And I tell therapists all the time, just build the practice and do it imperfectly, and that's okay. And so I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this episode on what it takes to run a private practice. If you know you need help, you need support, you need me to help you build your practice because you've gotten a glimpse of what it takes today, but you know there's so much more. I would love to be your coach and walk with you through this process for the next 8 weeks through our signature program, Private Practice Ready. So click the description in this episode in the show notes and let's get on a coffee date so I can learn about you, your goals, your family, what's next for you and what you want to build and the type of practice you want to accomplish. And then I'll share with you some different ways I can support you through our different levels of coaching and we can get your practice built. But I need you to know that this is what it takes to build a private practice. So thank you so much for listening and I will see you in the next episode.